It's almost 9 p.m. on Wednesday night, a cold but clear evening in the US Capitol.
I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone, so I haven't seen anything since they hit the river.
A military helicopter and an American Airlines plane collide mid-air before crashing into the icy Potomac.
Yep, we saw it. And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
There were no survivors. 67 people died.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions.
Today, families gathered by the river to remember their loved ones as authorities try to work out what went wrong.
And we're here to assure the American people that we are going to leave no stone unturned in this investigation.
The airspace around Reagan National Airport is one of the most congested and tightly controlled in the country.
Because of its location and proximity to the capital area, it's kind of landlocked, so there isn't a whole lot of land to allow for extending of runways or providing for more gates. But the other part that makes it so challenging is you've got significant buildings that actually limit how much airspace you really have. You've got the Pentagon really just across the bridge, but then you also have the Capitol, the White House, the monuments on the National Mall. All of those are restricted.
Todd Yeary was an air traffic controller for 13 years. He says the communication records between the control tower and helicopter suggest there was a degree of human error.
The pilots indicated that they saw the airplane and then for whatever reason requested that they would maintain visual separation. That's a procedure in air traffic control where a pilot can say, I will assume responsibility for steering clear of the aircraft that I now see. But something happened after that, and then we saw tragically what occurred as a result.
The Black Hawk helicopter was on a routine training operation with 3 soldiers on board. Elizabeth McCormick is a former Black Hawk helicopter pilot.
The optimal crew is 4, 2 pilots, 2 crew chief. But you're not required. You're only required to have 1 crew chief. And I think that this shows, for safety reasons, that we need to move to 4 for visual flight.
One of many lines of inquiry is whether or not the crew were wearing night vision goggles.
The CRJ airliner has a big spotlight in the front when it's landing. If they had night vision goggles in, did it blow out their vision, or did they just not see it? They were in a training environment. Were they looking? Did they think they were clear and they looked inside the helicopter for that moment of time? Those are questions we may not ever know the answer to.
Investigators are also looking into the staffing at Reagan National Airport Tower. Transport Secretary Sean Duffy acknowledged a preliminary safety report from the Federal Aviation Administration that said staffing was not normal at the time of the crash.
There was a consolidation of air traffic controllers an hour before it was supposed to happen during the time of this crash. And so what was the appropriateness of that?
There is a shortage of about 3,000 controllers across the country. President Donald Trump, without evidence, also speculated that inclusive hiring initiatives could have been to blame for the crash.
And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so.
I think the president is ill-informed. I think it is disrespectful to the family. 67 people perished in that incident. And even while he was making that comment, the air traffic control system was working around his head while he was saying it.
Only 2 days after the mid-air collision in Washington, D.C., a medevac jet carrying 6 people, including a paediatric patient, crashed in Philadelphia, causing a fireball to explode and set homes and cars ablaze. The impact killing 7 people, including everyone on board, and injuring several others. The two events have focused attention on air safety in the US. The incident in DC was the deadliest plane crash in the country in almost 25 years. Just across the road from Reagan National Airport, a vigil has been set up. Each cross here represents one of the 67 people who died on Wednesday night. On that flight was a figure skating contingent returning from a national development camp, including up-and-coming teenage athletes, coaches and family members.
Getting trained by the best of the best with the best of the best around you, and then you don't, make it home.
Former world champions Vadim Nomov and Genya Shishkova were on board. Taylor Rocco was taught by the pair for a decade and says they were more than just coaches.
They cared more about just the ice. So when high school graduation came around, I definitely wasn't the only one. They went to as many things as they could for people, just to show that support.
What will you miss most about them, and what do you want the world to know about them?
Wow. Miss most, I think, just their smiles and their laughs. I can still hear it, and it just stands out so much. But for the world, I think to go skate. I think they would want, nothing more than just everyone to share the passion that they had. It's a feeling that you can't ever replicate, just like gliding, flying through the air. So I think for the world, I think it would just be to go see what they were so passionate about and dedicated their entire lives to.